is that we have so many nonprofits in Augusta that are dealing with homeless and underserved, but they're all doing their own thing.
Ms. Laurie, excuse me. We just asked a question. You have a chance to get up and speak.
Okay.
I
thought we had the same opportunity to answer the same question.
Yes, ma'am. You have the same opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Then she can ask me the same question.
Okay. Ask what you come up. Anybody else got questions, Mr. Gilliard?
Right.
Okay, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next we have, also with me there, Ms. Laurie Davis. If you want my round of applause.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and actually doing this for us. There are a lot of neighborhood associations that never even think about doing this sort of thing because their associations aren't having the problems we're having. I have to agree with Mr. Gilliard on a lot of things he's had to say, but I'm going to take it one step to a lower level, and that's that we need so much done in our communities before we can get anything else done in this city. Our communities are full of blight and crime. This is the main objective in my campaign, is to look at these issues and tackle them. I had a tremendous opportunity Saturday when I came out to your neighborhood, to Barton Village, and knock on doors. I don't know what I expected when I came in this direction. I know that I come from Harrisburg, and I know how bad Harrisburg is. And I know that I can leave Harrisburg, but a lot of people can't, so I'm fighting for them. So I don't know what I was thinking when I came to Barton Village. I guess people tend to stereotype or whatever. I'm going to tell you something. Those of you who live here are doing something right. And I look forward to talking to some of you about how that happened, because I've been beating my head against the wall with a very few people in Harrisburg to try to change what I believe y'all were able to change just a few years ago. And I think that was with the leadership maybe of Bob Young when he was mayor. It was an eye-opening experience for me to come out here and knock on doors. It was so quiet in this neighborhood on Saturday that my husband and I, was sitting right there, were whispering as we walked down the street. We could not believe it in comparison to where I live and what we deal with. And I'm going to tell you why this was so eye-opening to me. Because it can happen, and somebody is keeping it from happening in my neighborhood. This is one of the reasons that I decided to run. It was over my frustrations of living in a neighborhood where I could not be heard. I'm educated. I'm articulate. I know how to go before the commission. I know how to do these things. I know how to call people that will listen to me. But nothing was working. Absolutely nothing. And to give you a little bit of history, you may know the history because people here recognize me in Barton Village. People in my own neighborhood don't recognize me. I look like the person who comes from Columbia County and buys drugs. So people in my own neighborhood do not recognize me and what I have tried to do to help this neighborhood that I live in, along with several other people. It's not just about me. I had a lot of people that came together but couldn't get anything done. We protested. We went to visit Sheriff Strength over and over and over, ad nauseum, as a matter of fact. We started contacting our different commissioners for help. A lot of it, for some reason, which I couldn't understand, fell on deaf ears. And I still don't understand it. I have a lot of ideas about why all this went on, but anyway, I had no idea that I would be in this position today running for mayor. If I had have known that, I would not only have been working in Harrisburg, I'd have been preparing myself to work with a lot of these neighborhoods so that I could prepare myself to run as a candidate. I had no idea. When it came down to qualifying time, I went to see our mayor and spoke to him about a few things to kind of get an idea, did I really want to do this? And what I realized when I spoke with him was that our philosophies about how to lead this city were totally opposite. His philosophy was, we get everything done from the top down. Build it, they will come. My philosophy is, get in these neighborhoods, clean them up, get crime and criminals and prostitutes out of these neighborhoods, people will move back into these neighborhoods, our tax base will increase, we will have money to do these projects that seem to be so important. When I was making my decision to run, my husband and I were talking, and we were just going through everything. This is going to change your life. It's going to change our lives. We were kind of newly married for 1.5 years. Do I want to do this? And we discussed every aspect of it. And he looked at me and he said, worst case scenario, you lose. I said, worst case scenario, I win. And that's how I felt that week before I qualified. Worst case scenario, I win, because people told me that what is already in place is unbeatable. It is unbeatable. Well, I took that on as a challenge. And I also had the opportunity to sit on a committee to work on a chronic nuisance property ordinance for this county. I have to tell you, that's the first time I've come head-to-head with a bureaucracy. And this bureaucracy doesn't like people that haven't paid their dues or know the right people. It doesn't matter if you come with the greatest idea in the world, but we don't know you and you haven't followed the correct chain of command. Well, I felt like I had. The sheriff, I think that's pretty much on top. Our mayor, I think that's part of that chain of command, and I think my commissioner's part of that chain of command. I felt like in a year of not getting anything done with protesting, you probably followed a lot of that in the newspaper. I found out sitting on that committee that one of the biggest lobbyist groups in our city are slumlords. I didn't say landlords, I said slumlords. They have a huge lobby, and they set out to make sure that we didn't get a chronic nuisance property ordinance passed in this city, and probably threatened a lawsuit, which is what derailed a lot of it. Now, we do know that in order to get an ordinance of this nature, we must do some work to change state code, and I've already begun that process, win or lose. This is something that will be good for the entire state of Georgia. I also found out that people started coming to me after I decided to run for mayor. It was the craziest thing. I'm not a politician, trust me. I don't want to be. I don't want to be associated with politicians. I really don't. Because I feel like a large part of our problem in this city has to do with politicians. And these politicians came to me at various times, or I would, try to talk to them and just glean a little bit of insight or whatever. And I started being told, you got to start networking. You got to meet the right people. This isn't your time to run. You didn't meet the right people. And I got to thinking, maybe the right people they're talking about are the people that are stopping progress in this city. And it made sense to me because I couldn't get anything done in a year of begging to get drug houses out of my area. And I understand that y'all have been very successful at that. And so, as I said, I'm looking forward to hearing to what some of you have to say of how this actually takes place. But as I say that, I have seen that there is some reason where I live that it's not happening. I'm not going to venture to say what I think those reasons are, but it's against the law to sell drugs. It's against the law to prostitute. It's against the law to do all of these things that are going on. And not only where I live, but in a large section of our community. People have left Richmond County in droves. Now, if you want to bring industry in, you want to bring jobs in, you're going to have to make this county attractive. And one thing that's going to have to go is crime. The crime in Augusta, Georgia is higher than the average crime rate in the state of Georgia and the United States for every single level of crime that's out there. Now, that brings me to one thing that I discussed with our mayor before I decided to run, and that is that we all have heard that the mayor has no power, so I went looking for that power in his job description. And it's in our articles and codes, and I said there's got to be something in here that gives a mayor power. I feel like I have the leadership, and that does give you a certain amount of power, but to have something written down that everybody can read and say, this is your power right here. I got through all the fluff, and there's a lot of fluff in there if anybody cares to read it. And I got to the last article, and it was Article 2, 1-2-27, and it said that it's the responsibility of the mayor of Augusta, Richmond County